Equatorial Guinea to add 20,000 barrels per day of oil production this year. IMF Executive Board approves 3-year policy coordination instrument for Senegal. And Kenya's first green bond starts trading on the bourse. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Business Incorporated. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwabu. We get the show started with the market, and it still looks bright for the Nigerian market as the all-share index continues its gains, trading 1.60% up at intraday as MTN Nigeria shares rose 10% to their highest in 2 weeks after the government withdrew a $2 billion tax demand against the South African telecoms firm. And the Chief Executive Officer of the exchange, Mr. Oscar Onyema, also gave his annual review and outlook for the year today and says the Nigerian Stock Exchange will be proceeding to the next phase of its plans to go public, which includes seeking formal approval from authorized dealing members to finalize the arrangement on demutualization. The JSE index in South Africa was also up 0.31%. In Egypt, the EGX 30 was down 0.57%. Kenya closed in the positive on Friday. Kenya's first green bond was listed for trading on the Nairobi Securities Exchange today, offering investors the chance to put money into an environmentally friendly fixed income security for the first time in the bourse's 65-year history. And most major Gulf markets rose at intraday as fears of conflict between the United States and Iran eased and investors' focus turned to corporate earnings starting this week. Saudi Arabia's index rose 0.90% as RG Bank gained 0.6%, while Saudi Basic Industries was up 1%. Oil giant Saudi Aramco rose 0.3% to 34.9 riyals. In Qatar, the index was up 0.56% as the Gulf's largest lender, Qatar National Bank, increased 1.7% ahead of its corporate earnings announcement on Tuesday. Qatar Gas Transport gained 2.1%. In the UAE, Dubai's index added 0.84%, with Emirates MBD increasing 1.9% and Dubai Islamic Bank gaining 0.9%. Abu Dhabi's index traded high at 0.59%. All right, let's cross over now to Europe, where stocks opened mixed in the morning as the U.S. and China prepare to sign a Phase 1 trade deal on Wednesday, while protests continue in Iran over the downing of a Ukrainian commercial airliner. Let's bring in Ulrich now for more details. Hello, Ulrich. Good afternoon. I'm not so sure if I have said Happy New Year to you, so Happy New Year, Ulrich.
Thank you, and a Happy New Year to you. All the best to you and all your viewers.
Great, you're welcome. Now, trade talks between China and the U.S. are targeted to make progress this week with the signing of a Phase 1 deal this Wednesday in Washington. How is this imminent event impacting European markets?
It's, I think, the main topic of conversation. Having said that, it's keeping the markets on hold. They're not doing much. You can also say they're treading water this way or that way. Whether you look at Frankfurt, Paris, or London, there's not that much change when you look at the indices overall, the DAX, the CAC 40, the FTSE 100. One is losing a little bit, the other is gaining slightly. Everybody's holding their breath and hoping that this time finally there will be good news, there will be white smoke, if you will, rising in Washington from the signing of the deal of a Phase 1. Most analysts, economists I've talked to have said that Phase 1, yes, that's progress, it's important, it's a signal, but the Phase 2, of course, will be the more important, weighty deal with lots of issues important to the markets, to the economy, to jobs. And the problem is one doesn't really know what's going to be entailed in that. So once Wednesday, January 15th, has been completed successfully, I predict that the markets will go on hold again and will continue to be nervous because the trade issue is not going to go away anytime soon. People predict that until the election happens in November, the U.S. President Donald Trump will try to keep that issue a hot one. Interesting news from the economic front. We've seen that the trade issue has impacted world growth. And Germany, for example, the IFO index, the IFO Institute there, predicts that the economy in Germany will have been heavily impacted by that, but also by the fate of the car industry.
Aside from these factors that you've talked about, it's a new week, and what other events do you think will shape European markets this week?
I think also the shooting down of the plane just outside of Tehran airport, the whole conflict with Iran continues to be in focus. I don't think that's an issue that's impacting the markets today, mainly, at least not the equity markets, but people are very well aware that the slightest flare-up in tensions can impact the markets, and then, of course, over the oil price also directly affect the economy. So people are looking out for that. There's Chinese economic data expected also this week pertaining to growth and to trade, so that's a significant sign. And you see the DAX behind me. It's taking a little dip there, and it's now at 13,455. And people are holding their breath a little, whether it's going to reach a record high this week. It was just nudging it earlier. 13,596 is the mark, and I think that's also something that most people, at least the ones invested here in Germany, are looking out for this week.
Interesting. Well, another issue making headlines around the world are the protests by environmentalists against the huge coal mining project in Australia being set up by India's conglomerate Adani. Now, Germany's Siemens is supplying signals technology for the rail service to the mine and has come under fire for that. That was Friday in Germany. What developed over the weekend on that?
Well, there were all sorts of talks over the weekend, and the protests are continuing today in Germany, and the Fridays for Future has announced that there will be more protests. Joe Kaeser, the CEO of Siemens, met with representatives of Fridays for Future, among them Luisa Neubauer, whom he offered a supervisory board seat in its energy division, the energy division that people expect will go public here in the Frankfurt Exchange sometime later this year. It will be a huge company, tens of thousands of staff and billions in market value. Luisa Neubauer refused the seat and criticized Siemens for, despite the talks, in the end deciding that it was going to stay true to its contract and supply that rail technology. But Joe Kaeser seemed wavering. He said after the meeting directly with the Fridays for Future people that he would be wanting to rethink it over the weekend. When he did that, together with his executive board colleagues, they decided to stay true to their contract with the Indians in that coal mine in Australia.
All right, Ulrich, it looks like it's going to be a busy week for business, particularly with the U.S.-China trade talks. Let's keep an eye on that. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of the day.